Happy Friday and welcome to Planet Earth. Is your weekend off to a good start? Mine's off to a great start because I get to be here with you. Quick bit of business here before we begin. Hit the like and subscribe button and feel free to leave comments to point out the many errors I'm sure I will end up making. Anyway, welcome to Planet Earth. We're talking about history, we talk about dinosaurs, we talk about football. Now, why do we even talk about history? What's this all about? Well, two reasons. One, if you're in school, you're going to need it to graduate, right? And two, to make sure we learn from the past and not make the same stupid mistakes over and over again. Kind of like getting a higher interest rate the first time you buy a car, right? You learn from your mistakes. So the second time, you don't run down that same road. Now, a good place, a good event I like to use to illustrate this lesson, it's the Civil War. Here we are, April the 9th, 1865. The Union, I'm a Union guy, has defeated the Confederacy. 4 brutal years of all-out war. 620,000 Americans have died. Do we really want to go through this again? No, we don't. So how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? Now, after a long, brutal war like this, your first instinct is to kind of cripple your enemy. All right, but if you do that, they're going to remember and try and come back at you later down the road, and you end up refighting the same war again. Kind of like when my Steelers beat up on the Ravens in their home stadium in front of their fans and embarrass them completely. Yeah, they always try to come after us when they're at Acrisure Stadium. They fail, but they do try. So on August the 9th of 1865, when Robert E. Lee of the Confederacy is here surrendering to Ulysses S. Grant of the Union, nothing happens to him. There's no trial. Nobody's getting hung except that Henry Worst guy down in Andersonville. And we basically let the Confederacy off the hook. And you're wondering, why would you do that? Why would you not try to cripple them to make sure they can't come back at you again? Quick note. See the guy standing behind Ulysses S. Grant? That's Eli Parker. Right. Iroquois descent, a general. How about that? And the guy propped up against the wall there, that's Custer. Yeah, George Armstrong Custer. Boy, is he going to make some mistakes down the road. Anyway, but I digress. Why did they not completely cripple the Confederacy to make sure it would never rise up and come at them again? Well, there's your answer. It can't. That's Richmond. It is completely destroyed. There is no way they're going to rise up and come after you. You can try and squeeze them for reparations, but there's nothing there. You could try and limit their military. Most of it's been destroyed. You have got to rebuild this. And the reason you have to rebuild this, again, is so you don't end up refighting this same war with 620,000 people getting killed 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and then you end up fighting them another 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's where Reconstruction came in. As you can see, they divided the former Confederate states up into military districts, and this is what we call Reconstruction, literally. All right? They're going to reconstruct these Confederate states, make them good American Union states again, reintegrate them back into the United States so we don't have to fight them again and again. I'm looking there at District 2, North and South Carolina. They put Dan Sickles in charge of that. I don't know about you, but I'm shocked, man. You know, not the kind of guy you let wander around in the store without following him around. You know what I mean? So Reconstruction is what they did to reintegrate the former Confederate states back into the Union. Look at those years, right? The war ended in 1865. By 1870, every one of these former Confederate states are reintegrated back into the Union. Now, I'm not saying it was easy, right? There was a lot of violence. Got those idiots from the Klan running around. You've got some other diehards here and there. And then when Reconstruction officially ended in 1877, and even before then, the former Confederate government officials who aren't supposed to be in office start to slither their way back in, and then all the horrors of the late 19th century take place. But hey, at least we're not fighting another civil war. And this is why you don't want to fight another civil war. Although the Union was much larger than the Confederacy, Confederacy is not exactly small. Look at that swath of states there in the Southeast, right? The ones that are red, former Confederate states. Imagine a simmering guerrilla war going on down there for years and years. I mean, it's like having a wound that won't heal, right? So they're going to heal the wound, reconstruct these states, and bring them back in. And since then, hey, we haven't had a civil war. We get our arguments and such, but hey, no civil war seems to be working out. Now, let's go forward, flash forward to the distant future year 1918. Here we are, First World War. Look at this map. Does it look like Germany's losing to you? No, this map is telling you Germany's winning, right? Because there's not a single inch of German soil under enemy occupation anywhere. In fact, you see Soviet Russia? Yeah, that's not Tsarist Russia anymore. They had a revolution and the whole Russian Empire collapsed. Germany has won in the East. They're trying now to win in the West. Problem in the West is now the United States has entered the war. We got 1 million soldiers on the way. And what happens after 1 million soldiers arrive? Yeah, another million's going to show up. So Germany knows they've got to win this thing now, or at least come away with a peace they can handle. All right, and we know how this is going to happen. It's not going to happen. All right, Germany's going to try and take a swing, and they're not going to win. Now, this map looks like they're winning. It's going to come in handy with some propaganda later down the road. That's what everyone wants to think. They want you to think Germany's winning, so negotiate from a position of strength. This is what they really look like. All right, it's a Rocky film, 14th round over here. Germany's economy is falling apart. Every division, brigade, company, every formation you can think of is fighting at half strength. The Americans are pouring in. The French and British have experience now, and now they're pushing forward. Sooner or later, that line's going up in Berlin somewhere, right? So you're going to try and negotiate from a position of strength, and good luck with that because they are falling apart. And that is exactly what's going to happen. They are going to fall apart. See that? Look familiar? Yeah, Richmond 1865. This is Germany in 1918. Economic collapse doesn't even begin to describe the situation Germany is in. The British blockade did a number on them. They couldn't get any food into the country. They were eating turnips, didn't even have any bread. There were rumors of cannibalism. All right, I mean, people get desperate, do all kinds of stuff. Look at this lithograph over here, right over there. We've got a starving mother and two starving children, and she can't feed both of them, has to give one bread and the other one doesn't, right behind the back. I mean, this is really bad. Germany has been knocked down and it is not getting up. Now, back in 1865, when the Union had the Confederacy down on its knees, they let them off the hook. We're trying to tell the French, the British, and the Allies the same thing. Hey, let Germany off the hook. Maybe punish them a little bit, but you don't have to hold them down and try and cripple the country. Because we let the Confederacy off the hook, and at least we're united. Now, it's easy for us to say we jumped in at the last second over here. Didn't get hurt too bad. Whereas, France watched the northeastern quadrant of the country get completely destroyed, looking quite a lot like Germany, actually. And the British, absorbed some serious casualties. In fact, the wartime generation, they called it the half generation because it appeared that half of them had died in the war. So maybe not go too hard on the Germans. And being the French and the British, they do exactly the opposite of what we say, and they come down heavy on Germany, right? Alsace-Lorraine is gone, a Polish corridor is gone, Poznan is gone. This huge reparations bill they slam on them. Can't have an army, you can't have a navy, you can't have anything. Germany's down, Germany's hurt, they've humiliated Germany, they have crippled Germany, and the economy has completely gone downhill. It starts to revive a little bit in the 20s with the Weimar Republic, but then the Great Depression hits and boom, right? Party like it's 1918. And when you get really bad economic conditions like this, starvation, anger, humiliation, it opens the door to something like this. Guys like this always find a way in. So this is why you try not to humiliate the enemy after defeating him. Yeah, you might punish them a little bit and get a little bit of land out of them. But if you try to cripple them and humiliate them, you end up with something much, much worse. This is a point that a lot of people seem to miss. Now, speaking of lots of points, hey, T-Rex, lots of points on some really sharp teeth, right? Everyone's favorite dinosaur, the largest carnivore ever to walk the earth. We think there might be a couple other ones still arguing over that. It's our friend T-Rex. Here's Billy T-Rex and Frida T-Rex, Mr. and Mrs., right? Always thought that was kind of a funny quasi-wedding picture over here. Now, some people will tell you that Tyrannosaurus Rex, king of the tyrant lizards here, wasn't a hunter. It was a scavenger. Yeah, that's a big bone of contention with a lot of people. Now, if you look at this thing, my first thought is, I don't think that's a scavenger, right? Maybe this thing actually does go on a hunt. Now, who in their right mind would think this thing is a scavenger? Jack Warner, professor of paleontology at the University of Montana, put forth this theory back in 2011 that Tyrannosaurus rex was a scavenger. His reasoning was that it was simply too big to move that fast, and of course those tiny little arms. But I don't know. You don't need tiny little arms when you got the huge jaw like this thing has, right? The head is big enough to grab stuff and hang on to it. I prefer to have arms and the big heads, but yeah, they didn't ask me, so here I am, right? So he doesn't really have any empirical evidence. It was just based on the size of the bones, and yeah, he did some biomechanical experiments, and other people do the same biomechanical experiments and come up with completely different conclusions. So a lot of people don't agree with him, and as you probably guessed, I'm not one of them. Here we are at the Carnegie Museum in Steeltown over here, and just look at the teeth on this thing. Does that look like a scavenger to you? It's always one of my favorite skeletons because it's been there like forever, And back in the Dark Ages, when I was a little kid, we were on a school trip out there, and this guide tried to tell us it was Allosaurus. It must have been his first day or something. And of course, Mr. H comes up and says, "No, that's a Tyrannosaurus. It's got two claws, not three." And he looked very upset. We never saw him again, and I hope he didn't run out into traffic or anything like that. But nonetheless, back to our original contention, this does not look like a scavenger. Get a closer look at these teeth. Look at these teeth, man. Now, I'm not saying Tyrannosaurus rex didn't occasionally scavenge, all right? It's because every animal on this planet, including us, Homo sapiens, operate on the same principle. Minimum effort, maximum gain. All right, we want to get the most stuff with the least amount of effort. It's called return on investment, right? Tyrannosaurus rex lives in the Cretaceous period, a time when you have plant eaters like Triceratops with the three horns and Ankylosaurus with a huge club on the tail. Instead of catching those horns in the chest or that club in the leg and getting your leg broken, if it ran into something that was dead out in the forest, it wasn't too rotten, you don't think it's going to stop off and eat that? Yeah, I mean, that's just what all animals in the entire history of this planet have done. You see it everywhere, not just in the wild, but you also see it at the professional development meetings when they bring out the free donuts, right? Everybody goes after the donuts, right? It's like all the scavengers are attacking it. So it happens everywhere, and Homo sapien is not immune to this kind of behavior. So, one more piece of evidence that I think will disprove Mr. Horner, I should say, is this. Now, that is a crown from a Tyrannosaurus rex tooth. That has been proven. And that is a spinal cord backbone of some kind of a hadrosaur, duck-billed dinosaur. And you can see that the tooth is embedded around bone that is healed. So this thing was alive when Tyrannosaurus rex attacked it, was bitten by Tyrannosaurus rex. You can tell by the tooth. It got away from that Tyrannosaurus rex, and it survived and healed. So obviously it was attacked. So Tyrannosaurus rex, sorry, it's a hunter, it's a predator. Stop off some free food every now and again when giving away at the Wawa, but hey, most of the time it goes out and hunts. Congratulations, gentle listeners. you are now experts on the eating habits of Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I would not be surprised if it looked something like that. Now, I don't know about you, but I was totally shocked by the XFL championship. I said take DC in the points, and DC not only lost, they didn't even cover the spread, man, 8.5, and they lost by 9. DC was 9-1, and here's Arlington at 4-6, beat Houston in the playoffs, went to San Antonio and knocked off the strongest team in the league. I guess that's why they play the game, right? You never know, because games aren't played on paper. They're out there in the field, and I thought for sure DC was going to walk away with this thing, and they walked away all right, walked away losing after falling behind 14-0, and then it was over. They couldn't get out of the hole. And here's the MVP. You see him right there. There's a better picture of him. Luis Perez. He played in the USFL last year with the Jersey Generals. I thought he looked familiar. He played with a number of NFL teams, got cut, played with Jersey last year, hopped over here to the XFL. That's what this league is all about. It's about guys like that having an opportunity. As a matter of fact, he started off in Las Vegas earlier this year and got traded over to Arlington, took the starting job, and took him to a championship. Now, what does the future hold for our friend Luis? Who knows? Maybe this is the height of his career. Maybe he turns to another Tom Brady. I do know one thing, though. He's wearing number 12. Good number to wear as a quarterback. Just like this guy, Terry Bradshaw. Everybody applaud. Yes, you are required to applaud. Terry Bradshaw, Pittsburgh Steelers, 4 Super Bowls. Okay, I know. Tom Brady has 7, but different era. And I think Bradshaw played in a tougher era anyway, you know. Believe me, right now you look at the quarterback funny, and it's a 15-yard penalty. Back then, as long as you didn't hit the quarterback with a car, yeah, you pretty can get away with anything. Let's head over to the other spring league real quick, the USFL, right? Well, my Maulers, good news and bad news. Bad news, we're 2-3. Good news, that puts us in a tie for first place. Look at this, a messed up division up here, the USFL North. Everybody is 2-3. Halfway through the year, everyone here still has a shot. And remember, Arlington Renegades in the XFL, man, they were 4-6 and went all the way to win the whole thing. So inspiration there from your other spring brothers. So Jersey up there at 2-3, the Michigan Panthers at 2-3, Philadelphia 2-3. Don't you like how they decide who's first, second, and third over here? Yeah, I got a feeling the guy who made this graph is a Jersey fan, right? Because you know if your friend Mr. H made this, the Maulers would be the one on top. So the strength of the USFL this year appears to be in the South Division. There you are, New Orleans Breakers. They finally lost their first game, but hey, they're still in first place at 4-1. Houston Gamblers, and there's the Birmingham Stallions, defending champs. They're at 3-2, just a game back. The Memphis Showboats, they're 2-3, but they still got a shot at this thing. It's not quite over yet. My Maulers end up playing against the Showboat, so if we get a good win, maybe we can start pulling forward, you know, and see how it goes. But so far, we're only halfway through, and it's anybody's game. Well, I hope you guys have had a great time. I had a good one here, too. Going to talk about some more stuff next week. Check out that Steelers schedule that came out. I'm still looking it over, trying to predict it way too early. I'll let you know what I think about it next time around. You guys have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend, and I will see you next time.